All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets here for this Thanksgiving Day slate. We got a few good college basketball prop bets as well as some NFL prop bets. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, guys, make sure to give this video a like. It is Thanksgiving, trying to get some content out to you guys on Thanksgiving because we are getting some seemingly good edges here. And some of the bets that I called out for the 3-game Thanksgiving Day slate on or in the NFL, a lot of those bets have already been bumped in our favor in terms of us gaining edges there. So hopefully you guys were able to gain some edges there. So I want to make another video here for you. And you guys can see we are gaining a lot of good edges on some bets. So we got Tim Patrick for under his fantasy score. I'm kind of okay with that one. His role has been reduced. We know the issue, though, with NFL fantasy score prop bets is a lot of it is just touchdown dependent. Demarcus Robinson was someone that last, I think, Monday or Sunday night, whatever the night game was, easily got his under fantasy score, except for he scored a touchdown, which we knew was part of that risk. That's the same thing here with Tim Patrick. Chances are he's not going to have a big role. Thus, his under fantasy score is going to be the favorite there. Caleb Love to get under his fantasy score is another good one that's popping up, and we have a lot of good under fantasy score prop bets that are popping up here for college basketball. And let's actually just go down the list. So I don't particularly love this one here from Ryan Nembhard, who just went off last game. He was able to cash our over. I think it was rebounds and assists. He had like 12 assists. He got his over just on assists last game. And if you're getting 12 assists, guys, which obviously is an outlier, but that's a lot of fantasy score points there. So I don't know. I'm a little bit cautious about that one. Whereas these next couple of ones, I'm a little bit more on board with. We see Brandon Smith under his fantasy score. Now, yes, you could argue better matchup this game, but at the same time, decent matchup against Marshall. You should have been able to crush in that game. That's kind of the issue with some of those blowout games, is that they might just not get that additional run. And so we are seeing Kaufman Wren as well for under his fantasy score. Those are two bets where I guess I'm okay with it. And then we got one more here. Caleb Love to get under his fantasy score going against Oklahoma. He has been someone that has struggled thus far this season, so I could see that, only hitting the over twice in this game. I will say I am kind of hating the fact that all those bets are favored for the under. Prizepicks has actually been relatively decent compared to Underdog. So I do want to see the Underdog fantasy score lines come out for these college basketball prop bets, and I would assume that they are. Underdog just comes out typically much later with their fantasy score lines, and they've been much higher with them, where I have noticed I have been cashing a little bit more frequently on Underdog with the college basketball fantasy score prop bets, to the point where Prizepicks might be a little bit better than Underdog with grading it. So I do want to call that out, but that's also a part where maybe if you do have some time today and you can wait on placing some bets on college basketball, maybe you do wait to see what the 9-to-5 cheat sheet is telling us are good Underdog bets there as well with their under fantasy scores, because again, those are typically the biggest edges. But I did want to call those ones out. We are seeing Jaden Reed for under his fantasy score is a decent prop bet today as well. I kind of get why the line's so high, but I also kind of get why the data would be telling us to potentially bet his under. The Packers are a little bit random in who has a good game. It's just based off of what Matt LaFleur schemes up for that game, where he sees the weakness in that defense. And I would argue that Josh Jacobs is going to have another good game, but we got to remember Romeo Doubs is out. Jaden Reed really hasn't had a big game in a few games. And so just naturally speaking, it's kind of that positive regression where Jaden Reed's had a few bad days or bad games in terms of production. And so it wouldn't be surprising to see it spike up. Maybe he scores a touchdown. We are seeing Marcus Hill. This one's an interesting one where, for whatever reason, Prizepicks has this bump to 14. Okay. But the average sportsbook line is favoring the under at 13.5. They're giving it a 52% likelihood for that one to hit. So a good one there. These receiving score lines here, just as an FYI, guys, I don't particularly love them, but it's basically a bet on them not having a reception. So if you want to bet those, you can. And then we are getting a couple of decent ones here as well. Patrick Mahomes for over his fantasy score. Obviously, he gets a good matchup. We also have Malik Renew for over his points and rebounds at 17.5. We see the average sportsbook line actually has this set at 18.5. The projection data likes the over there as well. Christian Watson, I wouldn't pair Christian Watson's under fantasy score with Jaden Reed's. I do think there's a good chance one of those two have a big game. Christian Watson did drop a touchdown last week as well. Should have been obviously a big game for him. Worth calling out here as well. We are getting a lot of slight prop line differences for college basketball. So just be on the lookout for those bets. We are getting seemingly some decent edges there. All right, guys, quick and easy video. There's no real reason for me to show you guys the Prizepicks bet slip because it is basically going to be these bets all right here for the pick 6 slip here on Prizepicks, but I'll show you guys kind of my favorite bet here on the day today. And so looking at, guys, I do want to call it again. The one I'm most concerned about is the Ryan Nembhard line. Just he looked good last night, and I don't wish I honestly had more time to look into maybe why this is being pulled in this way. Obviously, it's the combination of the data being pulled in, but I want to see which line specifically Vegas doesn't like compared to what Prizepicks is saying. It's probably the likelihood for him to have another block or steal is what I'm guessing, but interesting one there. And then, yeah, the rest of them I'm kind of on par with. I'm kind of on board with. Could toss in potentially Jaden Reed under fantasy score instead of Ryan Nembhard. But again, guys, with the college basketball prop bets, I really do want to see the prop line difference between Prizepicks and Underdog with those fantasy score lines so that we can make the best educated choice with those bets depending on, you know, which side of the data we're getting a very big edge on. Like, for example, RJ Davis was a bet that I think it was 2 days ago really popped up. His under fantasy score was a great bet on Prizepicks. It was under 32.5 for his fantasy score, but Underdog had it at like 35.5. The under ended up hitting, but obviously it's a much better bet there on Underdog than instead of on Prizepicks, but both ended up hitting. But still, I think that's worth calling out. But that's going to be all, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Do want to remind you guys of the promo code that's currently going on the website. Use promo code Keep Cashing. You get 20% off your first 9 to 5 month membership. If you guys want to use your some Underdog picks, they're doing a lot of tokens today. Prizepicks is going to have some discounts as well. Just make sure to use the promo codes that you saw during this video. Links to those are in the description below as well if you guys are looking to sign up. That's going to be all, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your guys' favorite prop bet. That's going to be all. Good luck. Happy Thanksgiving, and as always, let's keep cashing.